to the Sportcat Show.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. The one, the only Sportcat. I am here with you for the next 2 hours at Sportcat's Daily Gazette, even though the gremlins are trying to take me out today. So we have a great chat today, as always. Hello, Denise. And I believe I saw Chris in there as well. Hello, Chris. And I believe KG is in here. Welcome, KG, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great day. I hope everybody's ready for... I have no idea what this show's about. So it seems as though the gremlins just started coming in and taking over. So I don't know. I don't know what the hell we're going to talk about. We'll figure something out. I've got some stuff lined up, and hey, maybe it'll work out. Maybe it won't. Let's see what happens. So let's start off with what is today. Well, today is the 6th. See, I don't even know what damn day it is. The 6th of May, and it is International No Diet Day. I am against that. I'm dead against that. So we're just going to leave that there. National Nurses Day. Well, we can give nurses a day. They had Firefighter Day a few days ago, so we'll give them a day. They deserve it. Teachers, they definitely deserve a day. Childhood Depression Awareness Day. Definitely something that we should all be aware of because it is a thing. And let's see, Dr. Mark A. Grow, Cardiothoracic Surgeon Appreciation Day. Well, I don't know who that particular doctor is, but we do want to thank all of the cardiothoracic surgeons around the world because without them, lots and lots of people would not be with us. Joseph Brackett Day. Okay, we're going to have to check this one out. I know what a cardiosurgeon is, but I don't know what Joseph Brackett is. Celebrating Joseph Brackett Day on May 6th. It's a day to celebrate the amazing talent of the songwriter and composer of the song Simple Gifts. He is also well known as an author and songwriter, and he later became the elder of the United Society of Believers in Christ's second appearing, also known as the Shakers. Well, okay. All right. So that's interesting. So there you go. That's who Joseph Brackett is, and that's why he has a day. So congratulations, Joe. You got a great day. Chris says Dr. Mark A. Grow apparently has a high opinion of himself. Yeah, why can't I have a National Sportcat Day? A day where we all wear yellow and black. I'm just curious. National Aiden, spelled A-I-D-A-N. It's the Irish derivative name, Aiden. And, well, if you know anybody named Aiden, say, hey, today's your day. National Beverage Day, whether you prefer a cold one or, well, let's just see what kind of beverage they're talking about because this could be something interesting. It's a day encouraging you to drink. No, National Beverage Day falls on May 6th. We couldn't be more excited. The day encourages us to sit back, relax, and enjoy our favorite beverage. Comes in any form, whether you prefer a hot one or a cold one. The good news, there's one for every taste. All right, well, beverages have always existed, one form or another, since the beginning of mankind. Well, duh, we need water. Varied forms and significance in different cultures can be as viewed as once-in-a-while treat or as a driving force behind a much-needed morning pick-me-up. Shout out to all and they say coffee lover. I was going to say Mountain Dew lovers. So the origins of this day are a little uncertain, but early mentions of National Beverage Day can be found as early as 1921. This time is known as Bottled Carbonated Beverage Day. Good Lord, that's more to say. So why can't we just say it's National Mountain Dew Day or National Coca-Cola Day? So today is National Beverage Day. Go get yourself a beverage. It's National Crepe Suzette Day, and I have never had one. National Foster Care Day. National Tony Day. I do know a Tony. I'll text Tony and tell him hello. I'll tell Tony, why isn't he watching the show? KG, text Tony V and tell him hello. It's his day today. National Tourist Appreciation Day. Well, I don't know that I get behind that one because exit 407 on I-40 at the Smoky Mountains, this time of year is hell. A Poem on Your Pillow Day. Slavonia Blanc Day. I guess that's a bottle of wine. National World Asthma Day. Wear a gray ribbon and help support your friends suffering from asthma. All right. Well, today is Bob Seger's birthday. And Chris Paul, he's a basketball player. George Clooney, it's his day. Willie Mays' birthday. We all know who Willie is. Meek Mill's birthday. All right, let's see what other trouble we can get into with national days here. I always use these two calendars because I feel like one gives us more than the other. Let's see. So we discussed Foster Care Day and Teacher Day, Crepe Suzette Day and Beverage Day, Nurses Day. Yeah, okay. So, well, then I guess we covered them all, didn't we? So let's see what happened on this day in history. We're going to go back, way back to 1856. Sigmund Freud was born. He's a neurologist. It's amazing they had neurologists in 1856. And psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud was born in Freiburg, a Moravian town within the Austrian Empire. He's best known for founding the discipline of psychoanalysis, a collection of therapeutic techniques that deal with the unconscious mind. Some of his most famous ideas include the Oedipus, I don't know what that is, complex, I must not have it, and physics structure of the world. But it's basically an ego. Okay, all right. And so you can read all about him. 1937, on this day, the Hindenburg burst into flame. Does anybody remember seeing that in school on the reel? They used to bring in the projectors, and it was not reel to reel, but and watching that and them talking about it. The Hindenburg airship burst into flames above New Jersey, killing 36 people. It's believed that a leak allowed hydrogen inside the airship to mix with oxygen outside, and the gas was ignited by static spark. As the Hindenburg attempted to dock, it brought about a swift end to the age of airship travel. And it's such a shame because that would be such a pleasant way to travel. So, let's see, catch me in the chat here. Such a that's correct, Chris. Maybe he give him a sponsorship. 1994, the English Channel Tunnel opens. 1996, former CIA director William Colby drowns. Former director of the CIA is found dead on a riverbank in Maryland after leaving on a solo canoe trip. He drowned, but his death has been the subject of conspiracy theories. His son claimed that Colby had died by suicide. All right, 1998, Steve Jobs introduced the iMac computer. My, how far we've come. 2013, Ariel Castro victims are rescued. That was in Ohio, wasn't it? The Monster of Cleveland, yeah. They're rescued after spending more than 10 years in prison in their abductor's home between 2002 and 2004. One night he forgot to lock the door and made it to a window, screamed for help. All 4 victims safely escaped with the help of the police and neighbor. Whatever happened to that monster? Did they put that monster down? No, I just care. All I want to know is what happened to him, because we know his story, and it's a horrible one. Did they put the monster down? That's the most important thing. No, he's probably out on parole. Let's see. He claims the sex was consensual. Yeah, it's consensual if you're chained to a wall. This article doesn't say. Well, I'd like to find out what happened to that monster and see if he was put down. I know some people will say that's a bit harsh. I think I lost a viewer or two yesterday for making a comment like that, but somehow it's true. Even that's a bit extreme for Andy Wendell. So, all right, 1527, Spanish and German imperial troops sack Rome, ending the Renaissance era. And Charles III, Duke of Bourbon, or it's probably pronounced Bourbon, is killed in the assault, removing any restraint for the victorious soldiers. 1626, Dutch colonist Peter Minute organizes the purchase of the Manhattan Island from Native Americans for 60 guilders worth of goods. Wonder what that would be worth today. Believed to be the Canarsie Indians of the Lenape. Okay. We talked about the Hindenburg. Joseph Stalin become premier of the Soviet Union in 1941. Today in film, 2004, Friends, 20 years ago. Wow. 2004 TV sitcom Friends airs the series finale of its 10th and final season. Wow. All right. 1966, Rolling Stones releases the famous Paint It Black. All right. That's great. In 1954, English athlete Roger Bannister becomes the first to run a sub 4 minute mile. So, what is it now? And when you're doing PT, they want you to do an 8 minute mile, I think. So, I'm a fat kid. I could never do an 8 minute mile. So, all right. Well, we'll start out with some news that most of mainstream media isn't talking about. This comes to us from The Hill, an article by Tara Sutter. And protesters are occupying the University of Washington building. All right. Pro-Palestine protesters have occupied a building at the University of Washington in Seattle on Monday, according to a student newspaper. The Daily, a UW student newspaper, reported Monday that the school's interdisciplinary engineering building had been occupied by pro-Palestine protesters over financial links between Boeing and the university. The group Students United for Palestine Equality and Return claimed in a post on Monday. On Medium, it was taking this building amidst the current and renewed wave of student Antifa. No, it's not An, it's Intifta. I don't know what the difference in An and In. Intifta. The University of Washington is a direct partner with the genocide of the Palestine people through its allegiance to its partnership with Boeing. Boeing manufactures the F-15 fighters, the Apache helicopters, Hellfire missiles, and 500-pound bombs, which Israel uses to murder entire Palestinian families and destroy Palestinian homes, schools, hospitals, and mosques, according to the group. Boeing has a historically strong presence in the Seattle area, with two major factories north and south of downtown in Everett and Renton, employing many of the community around Puget Sound. University spokesperson Victor Balta said in a statement that later Monday's number of individuals temporarily occupied the interdisciplinary building and created a dangerous environment in and around the building. The school also said that close to 30 people were arrested. I need to find the applause button. Where's my applause button? Yay. 30 people were arrested. Isn't that it? Okay, that's enough. Stop. There. Okay. 30 people were arrested, and that it will refer charges of trespassing property, destruction, disorderly conduct, and conspiracy to give an authority to local prosecutors. Police worked with law enforcement partners to contain the situation and begin clearing the outside of the building at 10:30 p.m. before moving into the building to clear it at 11 p.m., the university said in a statement. The Hill has reached out to UW and Boeing for a comment, and there is no reply as of yet. So, all right, well, they got him out. All right, I'm sure I'll lose a subscriber or two over this. This comes to us from the Daily Wire. An exclusive, according to Spencer Lindquist, Trump makes move to supercharge deportations using local cops. Let him enforce the law. So, it seems reasonable. The Trump administration is taking a major step to supercharge deportation efforts by deputizing law enforcement across the country to carry out immigration enforcement, a Department of Homeland Security memo exclusively reviewed by the Daily Wire reviews. The memo lays out that the DHS has signed 562 agreements with state and local law enforcement groups, taking advantage of federal law that allows the agencies to enforce certain aspects of immigration law. While these sorts of agreements existed in the previous administration, the number of agreements signed since Trump took office has already risen by 316%. It's an increase from what was signed during the 4 years of the previous administration. The agreements could be one of the biggest keys to boosting deportation numbers, which members of the administration have reportedly grown frustrated. They apparently have grown frustrated with an estimated 18.6 million illegal aliens currently present in the United States and a judiciary that has continuously stonewalled the Trump administration attempts to deport illegal aliens. The federal government may otherwise struggle to remove a significant share of the illegal population without support from local law enforcement partners. Under the agreement, state and local law enforcement agencies are able to conduct immigration enforcement operations with ICE oversight, use federal immigration databases to identify the status of arrestees, and initiate ICE detainers to hold illegal aliens until ICE can gain custody of them, providing what could be a massive force multiplier in the Trump administration to deport at least 1 million illegal aliens per year. The administration says its collaboration with state and local enforcement is yielding results. Since January 20th, our partnership with state and local law enforcements have led to 1,100 arrests of dangerous criminal illegal aliens, the Homeland Security memo says. ICE has also trained over 5,000 officers across the country to help track down and arrest criminal illegal aliens in their communities. One far-left organization backed by George Soros, Open Society Foundations, complained that these agreements are designed to extend the reach of the Trump deportation machine. Now they're proving to be an effective force multiplier for the Trump administration as it seeks to enforce federal immigration law. There's a key word there, law. One of these agreements resulted in Operation Tidal Wave, a first-of-its-kind joint immigration enforcement from Homeland Security and Florida. So in just 6 days, 1,120 criminal illegal aliens were arrested, including dozens of rapists, murderers, drug traffickers, and MS-13 members. The DHS asserts. I would like to see that. I would like to see the actual charges. This resounding success is a preview of what is to come: effective and efficient coordination at levels of law enforcement to remove illegal aliens. State and local enforcement agencies that do not sign into an agreement with DHS are more limited in how they can support the federal agency in its immigration enforcement campaign. While the agency can comply with the ICE detainer requests so long as they are not in a sanctuary jurisdiction, agencies that haven't signed an agreement don't have access to the federal immigration database and are unable to initiate the ICE detainers. America is no longer a sanctuary for criminal aliens, the memo says, before adding a message for illegal aliens. We will find you, we will hunt you down, we will deport you, and you will never come back. Now, I would like to see in this article, they cite in a quote from the memo, 1,120 illegal aliens were arrested. Okay. But I want to know how we can support the dozens of rapists, murderers, drug traffickers, and MS-13 members. I want to know how they support that assertion. That, to me, is the most important part. But let's not forget they are criminals by breaking the law coming into the United States, because that is a law. You can't just walk into the front door. So, all right. And I saw another article. I didn't dig into it because I saw it late before researching that a federal judge is ordering, I think, 12,000 people to be repatriated from a foreign country. I'll have to go research that article, because to me that's seems to be a broad overstep. All right, so we have reported, I guess it was last week, about a 20-year-old man who fell to the warning track at a baseball game. Well, apparently he's upgrading and doing well, and he's taken his first steps since the accident. The 20-year-old man who fell from the top of a 21-foot high wall onto the warning track at PNC Park during the Pirates game last week took his first steps on Monday, but he has a long way to go in his recovery. Kevin Markwood slipped off a railing and onto a field during the seventh inning of the Pittsburgh 4-3 win over the Chicago Cubs. Sorry, Chris. Jennifer Phillips, the organizer of the GoFundMe page for Markwood, said in an update Monday that his recovery is a slow process, but seeing him up and moving was a huge win and definitely lifted everyone's spirits. He was admitted to the trauma center at Allegheny General Hospital in critical condition after the incident. He still has a long way to go. He's dealing with a broken neck. Well, that's news. I hadn't heard that. A clavicle and back. Wow, he's lucky to be alive with a broken neck and back. There are plenty of obstacles ahead, wrote Phillips, who once taught Markwood, but he's showing real strength. We're staying hopeful for a smooth recovery. This will also require plenty of rest and following instructions from the great doctors, nurses, and staff at the hospital. As of Monday night, the GoFundMe had raised 41,000, more than 91% or 90% towards the initial goal of 45. All right. Well, Pittsburgh Public Safety, which includes Pittsburgh Police, Fire, and EMS, has labeled the incident as an accident. Yes, he is very tough because either the neck or the back being broke could kill you. I mean, wow. So somebody's looking out for him, and he does have a long way to go. Wow. Wow. So, all right. I didn't know who this was. Have you heard this name? Shiloh Hendricks. Well, apparently there's an app called Give and Go, Give, Send, Go. Maybe I need one of those for the show. Give, Send, Go has raised double the amount of the boy who was called a bad word. So apparently what had happened was a Give and Send fundraiser for Shiloh Hendricks. The mother filmed she was the one filmed using a racial slur about a black child during a dispute in a playground, the video of which has went viral on social media and has passed more than $700,000, more than double that of the young boy. I didn't know who this was. Well, yeah, he has some good doctors there. There's University of Pennsylvania Hershey in that area funds a lot of things. Hershey is in the chocolate company, and they do a lot of good research and teach people there in that area. So he is in a good area for it. So anyhow, I have not seen this video. Don't really care to see it, but she's in headlines because she has raised $700,000 in a GoFundMe for the boy by the Rochester branch of the NAACP, which is known as a civil rights organization, has raised just over $341,000 for the boy. Now, I'm not sure why we need to raise the money for the boy. I'm not sure. Now, let's be clear. This was simply not offensive behavior. It was an intentional racist, threatening, hateful, and verbal attack against a child and must be treated as such. Now, Hendricks, the lady who used the bad word, says she needs the money to relocate because she fears for the safety of her family as a result of the backlash the video, and it has included many threats. Okay, so the cancel culture apparently is like 60-40 on this. So why it matters, a video taken in Soldiers Field Memorial Park, Rochester, Minnesota, shows Hendricks, the young lady, while arguing with Shamarke Omar, who is 30, he's not a young child, who confronted her about the language towards a black child. Okay, so she said it towards a black child. In the video, according to multiple reports, Hendricks claimed the black child had stolen from her toddler's diaper bag. The incident is a vignette of extreme polarization in American society across issues like free speech, racism, and online harassment. While she has sparked condemnation from civil rights leaders and lawmakers, Hendricks has also garnered financial support. In her fundraiser called Help Me Protect My Family, she said she was in a very dire situation and that her personal information, including address, social security number, okay, we're getting a bit extreme with this, have been leaked. She added that she and her children face online threats and great turmoil and that she was considering relocating. But the Rochester NAACP, which has called on authorities to investigate the incident, has called her fundraiser abhorrent and totally unacceptable. So Newsweek has contacted the NAACP and they have not reached out. The Rochester Police Department previously told Newsweek it was looking into the incident, saying the Rochester Police Department is aware of the video that was posted on social media and has received multiple calls related to it. We are gathering information and actively looking into the matter. And so what people are saying, Rochester NAACP President Whale Agnabi, told the Minnesota Star Tribune Now she's fundraising on this, and it's just abhorrent and totally unacceptable. She needs to face legal consequences for all her actions. This is a disgrace. The group told the Washington Post, shockingly, the woman's responsible for this hateful act has launched a fundraiser campaigning for herself. Many of the comments from her supporters celebrate and justify her hate. We've been asked by countless community members how they can help. The campaign is our answer. I'm not sure what the NAACP is going to get out of this aside for fundraising, maybe support for a lawyer, but it seems to me that cancel culture is 60-40 on this one. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd never heard of her. So who knew? So Wendell says, I need her to give me some money. His car broke down. All right. And Chris says, when are people going to realize that if you are out anywhere in public, you're more than likely being recorded by someone, something? Yes, absolutely. It's incredible. The thing I saw a video last night, and it was somewhere, I want to say up in New Jersey, of a bus driver that got ticked off at a car that cut him off. And we're talking about a public city bus, and he just pushed the car down the road for a couple blocks, maybe longer. It's like, yeah, that guy doesn't have a job anymore. All right. So, and then they also caught the pooper. The internet is good sometimes, it is bad sometimes. Police. A fiend relieved himself in church font. Okay, I'm not sure what a font is. A registered sex offender urinated into a holy water font. Okay, I guess that's the bowl or way of holding the water in a Pennsylvania church. According to investigators who have charged the 51-year-old suspect with desecrating the sanctuary. Police allege that Jesse Sakal last month entered at St. Patrick Catholic Church in New York and wandered about the building, which was unlocked and open to the public. I believe that's a fairly common thing. After browsing through the lost and found box in the church vestibule, he approached the pedestal, urinating, containing the holy water, and then, according to a probable cause affidavit, the police officer who prepared the affidavit noted that the pedestal is considered an object of veneration and that Sokol desecrated it by polluting it with urine. The incident appears to have been recorded, there you go, Chris, by a security camera. A church worker did confirm that the holy water was contaminated with urine, the police officer added. He was seen, this guy here on the right, and was identified as the suspect. Following a review of his prior booking photos, he was arrested for intentional desecration of a venerated object, a second-degree misdemeanor that carries a maximum 2-year prison sentence. He's free on $5,000 unsecured bail. He's scheduled for May 6th preliminary. According to court records, his rap sheet includes conviction of theft, criminal trespass, reckless driving, disorderly conduct, and driving without a license. He was convicted in 2014 of indecent exposure without consent, a crime for which he is now a registered sex offender. All right, it's classified as a tier 1 offender, and now he has to report annually to the state police for 15 years. Well, I'd say he's gonna be reporting for more than that since that was caught on film. What? Why? Just why? I don't understand. I'm going to guess that he had a high blood alcohol content. So, all right, well, let's go to an even friendlier story. I didn't bring up the coyote story. Bear suspected of fatal mauling Florida homeowner who was 89 and pet dogs on his property. An 89-year-old Florida homeowner and his pet dog are believed to have been mauled to death by a bear on the man's property Monday. The body of Robert McCall was found shortly after the victim's daughter witnessed a bear killing the dog around 7 a.m. in a remote part of Collier County near Everglades City. It is unclear when Markle was initially attacked, but it might have been hours before the 911 call was made. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission said, according to Fox 4. DNA testing is underway to confirm that a bear was actually behind the attacks. Officials said the victim lived alone with a pup leading up to the grisly death. The bear involved may still be in the area. Oh, this could be a horror movie. And our officers continue to secure a perimeter. Florida Wildlife Commission Officer George Reynolds said Monday afternoon, according to the station. Out of an abundance of caution, we urge residents and visitors to remain vigilant and avoid the area. Hours later, wildlife officials pulled a dead bear from nearby woods around 9 p.m. after a series of loud pops were heard 2 separate times over a 45-minute period, according to the Naples Daily News. Wonder what that was. 4 bear traps were previously placed around the area as of Monday evening, with Reinhold stressing that public safety is paramount. If DNA confirms a bear killed Markle, it would be Florida's first recorded fatal bear attack since the Florida Wildlife Commission started keeping track of that data. There are roughly 4,000 bears across the Sunshine State that live in forests and swamps in the Elgin Air Force Base in Nicola National Forest. They believe that residents should not run away or climb up a tree if they come face to face with a bear, but to slowly back away. Or as I was told, get a whistle, but that's another story. Residents are also urged to avoid direct eye contact with bears because that could be seen as aggressive behaviors. But if a bear launches at a person, they are advised to fight back aggressively. People have successfully fended off bear attacks using rocks, sticks, or even their bare hands, according to the Florida Commission. Okay, don't make eye contact with a bear. That's bad. I'm not trying to make light of this story, but that making eye contact, that's a little crazy. But it's probably a good idea not to. Wendell, if you see Bigfoot, do not make eye contact with it. So it could be bad. And there was also an article that I should have brought up about a coyote attacking the same man twice on a beach out near Cocoa, Florida, I believe it was. Or it might have been a little bit further south. All right, well, let's continue with animals going crazy. Beachgoers lucky escape from unusually aggressive stingray attack. Ooh, this comes to us from down under. A York Peninsula woman is recovering from an unusual and aggressive eagle ray attack after a 15-centimeter barb pierced her arm, barely missing an artery. Pam Bennett was part of a group investigating the effects of algae bloom on the South Australian coast when the incident occurred. Minutes after entering the water, she was struck from behind. Suddenly, felt what felt like a dog bite. It doesn't hurt at first, she said. At that moment, there probably wasn't excruciating pain. Exactly, the pain comes after. The attack resulted in a 15-centimeter stingray barb becoming lodged in her arm, requiring emergency treatment at the Royal Adelaide Hospital. Bennett says, "I'm fine. I've got a sore arm. That's it." Well, she's a brave woman. A marine wonder she looked it in the eye. A marine biologist who witnessed the attack told 9 News that his unusual and aggressive behavior and believes it could be linked to the algae bloom. Maybe it's like their catnip. A marine biologist who witnessed, we read that already. One eagle ray attacked Pam and one which actually lashed out at me. Fortunately, it missed. She was bleeding quite profusely and needed immediate medical attention. And they believe that the uncharacteristic aggression may be linked to the algae bloom affecting part of the South Australian coast. He explained that warmer than usual waters are fueling the bloom, which can coat the gills of marine life, potentially depriving them of oxygen. I've been snorkeling for about 50 years and never seen anything remotely like this. The attack comes a day after a great whale shark was found dead on Henley Beach. The algae bloom and its potential effects on marine life are under investigation by the Department of Primary Industries, according to Bosley. A natural event may be needed to resolve the incident. I don't know what that means. The only thing that will help is if we get a decent storm, there we go, coming in from the southwest, which will break up the bloom and disperse it. Interesting. All right, so we had 2 animal attacks there. Wonder if she looked it in the eye. So Chris says it is always easy to tell people not to run away when you are not the ones with the bear on your ass. I agree. I agree. You just got to be faster than the slowest runner. And unfortunately, when I'm out with my Squatch friends, I'm probably that guy. Ross and I were just discussing this. Scientists discover a terrifying new brain glitch that millions suffer every day, which is the opposite of deja vu. Yes, scientists have discovered a brain glitch that is the exact opposite of deja vu. This comes to us from the Daily Mail and an author by Evelyn Lapointe. While deja vu is the unsettling sense that you've lived a moment before, juiciest vu is when something familiar suddenly feels alien, like encountering it for the very first time. I don't know, has anybody ever experienced that? I actually experienced this the other day. You've likely felt it walking through your hometown and suddenly feeling lost or repeating a common word until it sounds strange and meaningless. Repetition is often the trigger. The brain overloaded by familiarity, in other words, you're familiar with the area, short circuits, making the ordinary feel bizarre. It can be brought on by doing the same thing over and over again or staring at something for too long. But sometimes researchers say it strikes without warning. Psychology professor, where I lost my track here because Dr. Akir Connor, Dr. Connor of the University of St. Andrews in Scotland, once experienced juiciest vu while driving. All of a sudden, he had to pull over and remind himself how to use the pedal and the steering wheel. I had this happen on my way home from work after working a 24-hour shift and probably have been up for 40 hours. I don't know, something like, let's see, 20, about 32, 36 hours. I was 2 blocks from my house and had to turn around and go back until I recognized an area that I knew, and I went home a separate way. I was literally blocks from my house. Through experiments, they found that juiciest vu is a signal that something has become too automatic, forcing you to snap out of the repetition. The feeling of unreality is a fact reality check. In fact, it says O'Connor and his colleague, Dr. Christopher Mullen, his professor, good Lord, of cognitive neuropsychology at the University Grenoble Alps in France, wrote in The Conversation. It makes sense that this has to happen. Our cognitive senses must stay flexible, allowing us to direct our attention to wherever is needed rather than getting lost in repetitive tasks for too long, they added. In their first experiment, 94 undergraduate students were asked to repeatedly write the same word. They did this with 12 different words, ranging from common terms like door to more uncommon terms like sword, S-W-A-R-D. The researchers asked participants to write as quickly as possible, but told them they were allowed to stop if they started feeling strange, got bored, or their hand began to hurt. Roughly 70% of the participants stopped at least once because they began to experience juiciest vu. The feeling usually emerged after about 1 minute of writing or 33 repetitions and happened more frequently when the participants were writing familiar words. The second experiment was essentially the same, except participants were only asked to repeatedly write the word, as the researchers assumed it is the most common word. The word the. Oh, okay, right. The word the, THE, as it is the most common word. That time, 55% of the participants stopped because of the juiciest vu, but it only took 27 repetitions to trigger the feeling. I think that should read, but it only took, and it's 2. They described their experience as the words losing their meaning and more like they just looked at them, feeling like they lost control of their hand and feeling like the word isn't really a word, but someone tricked them into thinking it is. Researchers published their findings in the journal Memory in February of 2020. Previous studies have also identified this strange brain glitch, but O'Connor, Mullen, and their colleagues were the first to link losses of meaning and repetition to a particular feeling, Jamas vu. They believe its purpose is to snap us back to reality if you become too entrenched in a repetitive mental state or behavioral sequence. There is still a lot that experts do not understand about Jamas vu, including the precise neurological mechanism that drives it in potential association with brain disorders like epilepsy and OCD. But at least you can rest assured that this eerie feeling of unfamiliarity is actually your brain just giving you a reality check. And Wendell says, don't the Ray have a bad bacterial infection? Well, after using his barb, I guess is what you're saying, Wendell. Does the Ray have the infection? It probably does. I don't know how it works. Do they grow another one? Honestly, don't know. All right, so we're sometimes I don't want to call us prep channel here, but sometimes we do kind of talk about prepping a little bit. And since there was the power outage in Spain and Portugal, I thought it might be a good idea to remind everybody of some items they should have. And I'm not going to go too deep into this whole societal collapse idea because I'm not so sold on it, but that's just my opinion. So, some of the items that we should have in our kit, I won't use the word doomsday, but our kit, well, it would be items that we would want during a power outage and network failures. Satellite phone is essential to keep you connected. They're very expensive. The Garmin InReach Mini 2 is a lightweight satellite communicator with two-way texting and interactive SOS globally, making it extremely useful in emergency communication without network. With Bluetooth water resistance and trackback routing, it helps you return to safety with up to 14 days of battery life. Satellite tool will be the most handy in the case of an emergency. And of course, the next most essential gadget you want to get power is a portable power station. Now, they're recommending one that I don't know anything about. You can check it out. It's the Anker Solix C1000. It's an ultra fast charging and can reach 80% in 43 minutes via AC. The power station has a lifespan of 10 years and 3,000 battery cycle and has a 2,400 watt output, and it can also use a solar panel. All right. And other ideas you want to have, we've talked about this before: emergency weather radio, and some recommend a power bank, which is just basically a little battery that you keep charged up so that your phones and your tablets, if you use them, can recharge and that you can then later recharge it. And then there's also the old hand crank. Oh, those are such fun. I remember those. There's the solar panel now. And of course, there's always battery backups. So make sure that you have something to back up that power. And in an emergency situation, it's probably a good idea to keep your medical records and maybe some family photos, probably just for identification. And they're recommending a SanDisk 128 gigabyte flash drive. And it's apparently a very durable USB drive. That's a good idea. Keep your medical records, if you have any of them, on a file with you in case something happens. It's compact and secure, and that way, if you're in a situation where you've got to de-ass the area, you can go, here's all my information. And there's manual survival tools. We're not going to go into all of them, but some of include, a compass. If you're moving, Flintstone, that's if you want to make fire, but you should have, if you're going to be able to make fire, you need to have 3 ways of making fire, not just one. A flashlight, yes, I've talked about that multiple times. A pen, a writing utensil, yes. An emergency blanket, yes, definitely. A wire saw, and that is basically just picture a chainsaw blade with handles on it, or it can be even smaller. So that's something to consider if, like happened to me yesterday, a tree fell on the side of my house and tore the siding off. I'm not there, but at any rate, have a saw in case of power outage. You need to cut your way out, but you have no power. Well, you have that. So, and they talk about security. All right. Well, they're recommending a stun gun, pepper spray, and then a very powerful flashlight. I will let you decide on those things. That is your own choice. But you should have some way of protecting yourself in case you do have to face power outage for long periods of time. And you should also make sure you have plenty of food stored up. And somebody brought up a valid point. Everybody stores up beans and rice. It's the thing to do. Store up beans and rice. If you've never cooked beans and rice, that's not going to do you a dang bit of good. Somebody like me that has never made beans nor rice, that would probably be a bad idea. Now, Mrs. Sportcat, the one that's domestic, I'm not, I'm feral, could handle that. But me, I'm more like a spam guy. So, and I did not know there's a thing, and apparently it's quite good. I'm going to try and find it. Canned bread. It comes out of New England, and apparently it's a thing, and it's very good and has a very long shelf life. So who knew? So I'm going to check into that. Those are just some items. And I also want to give you a little heads up. When I get home, if I ever make it home, I have a flashlight for us to review, and I'm going to start reviewing occasionally just little gadgets, little things that you might just want to have in your pocket or nearby that are handy. So, and plus it's kind of like of a hobby for me. So, yeah, so that'll be in the near future. All right. Well, this comes to us from the Daily Mail, and doomsday preppers have stunned Joe Rogan with a grim breakdown of how the world will collapse under AI. Didn't we just say it started just a few years ago? Wendell, it's very good that you have the lanterns and flashlights. Solar lighting is very good. Experts in artificial intelligence left podcaster Joe Rogan stunned as they spoke about how quickly technology is evolving. The UFC commentator invited AI experts, Jeremy and Eduardo Harris, the CEO and CTO, respectively, of Gladstone AI, onto his show. Gladstone AI is dedicated to promoting the responsible development and adaptation of AI. Rogan got into his concerns about the emerging technology with the guests right off the bat. If there's a doomsday clock for AI, what time is it, he asked. That's an interesting question, because I believe we're less than 90 seconds to midnight, according to the doomsday clock. I'd have to go look. Jeremy soon replied that there's a bunch of disagreement amongst experts in the field, but concluded AI could hit human level capabilities across the board by 2027 or 2028. You'll be able to have AI on your show and ask it in what the doomsday clock is like. By then, he quipped. Why ask it? It's already in charge. But Rogan lamented that AI probably would not laugh at this joke. Germain explained that lab called Meter, MTR, recently conducted a study that showed how quickly AI models are improving. In the study, researchers gave the AI models a task that a human could do and compared it to take artificial intelligence the same amount of time and how quickly they were able to complete it. They found that the technology could complete tasks that would take humans less than 4 minutes to complete, with nearly 100% success rate and 50% success rate for the humans to take an hour. So in other words, AI could take 4 minutes and we take an hour. Eduardo then noted that the rate is increasing almost every 4 months, especially for tasks involving research and software engineering. By 2027, he concluded the kind of work AI researchers does in a month could be done by AI itself within 50% success rate. At that point, Eduardo joked, Rogan could have an AI system as a guest and ask it itself what the AI doomsday clock looks like. All right, so there you go. This interview came as Demis Hassabis, the CEO of DeepMind at Google, shared his belief that scientists are on track to create artificial general intelligence within the next 5 to 10 years. Artificial genuine intelligence, general, refers to artificial intelligence with software that rivals the cognitive ability of a human. It's a hypothetical stage of AI advancement, as currently the technology can pull from existing content and doesn't have the curiosity or imagination to create new concepts like humans do. I don't know that that's 100% true. So they go on to say that basically by 2027, the robots are going to take us over. We're screwed. So Chris says, if they can sell bread in cans, I will begin selling beer in bread bags. I'm telling you, I saw it on one of these prepper channels. It's true. I'm going to try and find a can, and I will do a review of it, because the guy that did it, he said it's best served with Boston baked beans and a Boston sausage. I do not know what the difference between a Boston sausage and a regular sausage is, but I will find out the answer to that. At any rate, AI. And speaking of AI, I ran into an interesting thing last night on the interwebs. It's funny, I'm always running into these strange things. Meta, which we all adore as Facebook, has a new AI app that you can download individually, separate from Reels, Instagram, and Facebook. And it's called Meta AI. And you can ask it any question you want. You can ask it to draw a funny picture. You can ask it to do all kinds of things. But the default setting is public. In other words, there's a basically Twitter stream if you switch over to the public view mode, and you can see what people who don't know that the setting isn't private are doing. You need to download the app and check it out. Make sure your settings are set to private. Check it out. It's hilarious. It's everything from how to heal a sick turtle to, well, some very strange and odd things. So I'll leave it at that. iPhone 17 or Pixel phone. Google just mocked Apple over their similar design. Business doesn't have to be all serious about this all the time. Google apparently follows the same mantra. Recent ad, the tech giant mocked one of its biggest rivals, Apple, over speculating that the design of the upcoming iPhone 17 may resemble that of various Pixel models. The ad campaign, named #BestPhoneForever, came amid rumors sparked by leaked images, probably AI, of the iPhone Pro 17 and Ultra, rebranded the Pro Max, which is what I have. Reports suggest that the iPhone 17 will feature major hardware revamps as compared to previous iPhones. And so they went back and forth over this. And the only reason I have the phone is because, I don't know if you remember, but the last time I was here, mine caught on fire. The only way to buy a new one was AT&T forced me to buy the most modern, newest one up to date. Let's see. We won't cover this, but this is U.S. celebrity news if you want to check it out. Nicolas Cage had a near-death experience while preparing for a new movie. He could have died. Well, he found himself facing his own mortality while learning to surf in preparation for his latest film. Cage is 61. Why in the world is he taking surfing lessons at 61? The Surfer, which hits theaters 13 May. In the movie, he stars an anonymous businessman who moves back to Australia to buy the beach house of his childhood. Despite the premise, Cage's character doesn't actually spend that much time in the waves. Still, a key scene toward the film's end reportedly shows the actor actually in the water, showing off his new death-tempting skills, and he admits it was difficult for him to obtain. Yeah, at 61, he's got to be in great conditions. We had weather conditions, and believe it or not, sharks. You're in Australia, dude. And things like that. All the S that he don't entertain him weekly in an interview published Saturday, May 3rd. I surf, but every time I attempted surfing, I've been pounded to smithereens. I surfed down the Sunset Beach while I was trying to learn. My teacher gave me a short board, and I went on a longboard. He admits that he has a fantasy of recreating the surf scene from the 1979 movie Big Wednesday, despite how out of reach it is. So And I seem to remember in my mind's eye, boy, this is an oldie, Jan Michael Vincent on the board, and then the board wiping across the frame. It was so beautiful in the water and wiping of the board and then landing on its face in slow motion. He told the outlet, I thought, gee, I want to really get that shot. I just didn't have the time to get my skills to the point where I could. So, so apparently while trying to learn to surf, he almost drowned. Wow. All right. So we have that. Jennifer Aniston. This story comes to us from CNN. And apparently this is real news. A man crashed through the front gate of Jennifer Aniston's home while she was there. A man has been detained after driving a car through the gate of a home that online records indicate belonged to actress Jennifer Aniston. According to Officer Jeff Lee, a spokesman for LAPD, the incident happened Monday around 12:20 Pacific time on the 9,000 block of Ariel Way, which is located in Bel Air, an affluent LA neighborhood. Lee said police responded to a call about a burglary suspect at the property who ran his vehicle through the gate of the residence. Officer David Cellular, I guess it's Cellular, later told CNN that the homeowner was at home at the time of the incident. There was a security guard on the premises who held the suspect, described as a white male in his 70s, until LAPD officers could arrive, according to police. The man was taken into custody without incidents and have not determined whether the incident was accidental or intentional. 70 years old. Why would he do that? So, all right. Well, it's a friend star. She got her gate rammed. This article comes to us from the BBC, the Sky at Night magazine. It talks about how Earth can be detected from outer space by other entities. So if you want to check it out, it's quite fascinating. And then to back that up, there's an article by Big Think, where at one point in time, we believed aliens were everywhere on every planet. So there you go. We'll come back to this because the media isn't covering this either. This came out from a podcast. Former Bush housing official claims government has spent $21 trillion building underground doomsday bases. And you can go on TikTok, you can go on the interwebs and find videos where people have heard noises under the ground and then later found entrances that were guarded nearby. So supposedly they are all across the country and even the ocean, and they were built using $21 trillion. So check that out. We're not going to cover sports today. We're out of time for that. So let's go over here to what we normally do. Let's do the President's Daily Brief. All right. FEMA finally woke up. If you remember yesterday, they were asleep behind the wheel. So this is the President's Daily Briefing, which was presented to him by FEMA at 8:30 this morning, Tuesday, 6 May of 2025. Of course, we don't have all the secret squirrel stuff that he does. All right, so they reported no significant events or operations, and a major declaration request came from Arkansas. They're monitoring severe thunderstorms in the southern plains to the lower Mississippi Valley, excessive rainfall, flash flooding to the central plains to the southeast. And we'll go over the weather forecast in just a second, but Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana can anticipate very heavy rains, serious weather that could possibly spin off some tornadoes, and even up in the northeast later tonight. We'll go over that in a minute. The storm will get off coast, which most people will not be that concerned about, but it can still produce tornadoes as far over to the east as Mobile, Alabama. So keep an eye on that later tonight. And you remember, I want to comment on this yesterday, how I said Florida had a really, really small risk of tornadic activity. Well, in Key West, a tornado popped up off of the water, came across one of the small little islands in Route 1 and back onto the other side of the water, and it just left fish and tree limbs in its wake. But they were under only a very minor chance of significant weather, and there was a tornado. Wendell says, I'm sure some of them are really made. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. I have stories on that. So Chris says, I imagine if I had $21 trillion in revenue missing on my personal federal tax, the IRS might send me a harshly worded email. That's a simple statement to say. They might be interested in where you misplaced $21 trillion. It's amazing. We just misplaced $21 trillion. So, at any rate, Texas tonight, Louisiana. In Texas, you're not going to be out of the gun for out of the coastline, especially for the next 24 hours. Oklahoma, it's going to get a little bit better for you tonight, but don't let your guard down. There is a very slight chance, and I'm going to just emphasize this slight, but I said this about Florida last night, that this could happen in the Northeast, Pennsylvania, upstate New York, New Jersey, up into Vermont, that area. Wednesday, they're hoping all the energy calms down as that Omega wedge is finally pushed out, and it's pretty much going to drench most of the lower 48 south of the Great Plains, and the same for Thursday. So for the expected intense rainfall, Louisiana, the Texas coastline, in Alabama, you are in the area of the most significant amount of rain. And in some parts of Texas and Louisiana, during the night, there's a possibility of hail as big around as 2 inches. I'm not sure, but I think that's a softball. So keep your eyes on that. They mentioned this into Wednesday because it's going into the overnight hours, and it will be extending because this storm is going to be off the coast in the Gulf of America. It's extending over towards Mobile, Alabama. And so the coastline is going to get a good soaking. I imagine it's going to go all the way over to Pensacola. So wildfire summary, let's see, 15% contained. This is still in North Carolina. Brunswick, it's 15% contained. So far, they have burned 1,369 acres. We'll get a bigger picture of that. So what they're watching, of course, we have to mention snow in the upper elevations in the Midwest and well, that's not really the West, it's the Midwest. The Deep South can anticipate extreme weather from Texas all the way over to Florida along the Gulf of America, as far inland as Birmingham to Oklahoma. And then up in the Northeast later tonight, if it gets a little bit of energy coming off the lakes, depending on the timing, you could see some tornadic activity. Florida, not to leave you out, you could see something as well. Let's jump into the next one here and see what we got. Well, next we had the president's daily briefing. Well, 9 a.m., they got a little late time to come in. The media got it to show up at 9. And if you ever want to go check out a guy on YouTube, tell him I sent you. Penguin 6, he reports on the media in D.C., and he does, of course, the other things because he's a journalist, but he does some great 20-minute videos a day of what happened with the media around the White House. It's sometimes funny, other times it's serious, but Penguin 6 over on YouTube, give him a like, follow, share, tell him Sportcat sent you, and enjoy his videos daily. So at 11:30 a.m., we get to meet the new Prime Minister of Canada. Yay, we finally get to meet him. And then at 11:45, we're going to have bilateral meetings with the Prime Minister of Canada. 12:15, we're going to have a bilateral lunch with the Prime Minister of Canada. I would love to know the menu. And that will be to a closed press. 3:30, the president participates in a FIFA task force meeting. And that will be the White House press pool. FIFA, as in soccer? I don't know. 5 o'clock, president participates in the swearing-in ceremony for the assistant to the president, senior advisor and special envoy. Another person, I don't know what they do. So there you go. But at 5 o'clock, they're going to be sworn in. All right. And we were correct in our calling yesterday that the president was going to be making the sports announcement where the NFL was going to have the 2027 NFL draft on the National Mall. All right, so DEF CON, our level hasn't changed. I looked at some of the terrorist threats from other countries, and they're listed as substantial to moderate to more likely than not. They all use different terminology, but everybody's on high alert. Basically, tensions are high. Newest things, Israel airstrikes at the Sana'a airport. Evacuations warnings are in Yemen. The Israeli ministry reported a complete shutdown of the airport after the strikes, and also reported the striking several central power stations. And Israel believes that was done by Iran, and so they promise that they're going to retaliate. So that'll be fun times. And then, of course, the Israel Air Force carried out strikes on the Houthis, as I'm sure so did we overnight. So yeah, joint U.S. operations to hit the Houthis. My question is this about the Houthis. Every time I see a video or something of them on the web, they're using like a John boat with a Johnson motor for the boat. And they've got like small arms, maybe a rifle, maybe a Molotov cocktail coming at our Navy ships. Why in the hell can't we eliminate them in one strike? I mean, does that make sense to you? Because if they're as bad as they keep telling us, but then the videos show that they're just basically pirates, why can't we wipe them out? I don't understand. Maybe I'm illiterate on that fact, but at any rate, all right, so we're going to look at the forecast. This is the National Weather Service daily briefing, and we can see they've actually extended it. All of Oklahoma, most of the southern to the eastern section of Texas, portions of Arkansas, Louisiana. I'm sorry, it's your turning the hole. This storm is slow moving. It's going to the east. It's not really going to the northeast. It's venturing a little bit more to the southeast because of the energy it's getting off of the Gulf of America. So you're under the gun, as well as Texas. And like I said, later tonight, that storm's going to regain some energy when a warm water comes in at high tide, giving it more energy. And that could extend as far over, I'm going to say, well, it shows on this map, actually, that it does, to Pensacola, maybe even Escambia County, over to the east in Florida. And it's going to teardrop back in size all the way up over Oklahoma. So be weather aware. Have two ways of monitoring for weather conditions. Have working smoke detectors that are both battery and electrical powered. And as always, be aware of your surroundings. Have flashlights and some sort of tool to help get yourself out of a situation if you need to. And Chris said, many people have been saying that there have been no NFL drafts with more highly anticipated announcements than the one yesterday. They're saying it's a beautiful and perfect. Hey, you forgot. It was bold. It was bold and big announcement. After this year's draft, I think I'm over it. I mean, we took this year's draft. I don't want to say this. And the draft occurred as it probably should, but it didn't occur the way the media wanted it to. So they made a bigger deal of it, and they're trying to smear the NFL and the teams because it didn't go the way that the media wanted it to go. So if that makes sense. If you're an NFL fan, you'll understand. There's a player that was taken almost dead last that has a famous father who believed he was the best player in the world and should have went first, and the media bought into the hype, and the people who actually interview and scout talent and watch talent and train talent said, yeah, no, he's not that great. I would be surprised if he's not in the Canadian Football League next year, if not the Arena Football League, which, hey, there's a new team in Nashville called the Cats, I believe, and they're co-owned by John Goodell, Jeff Fisher, and Peyton Manning. There, another fact for you. All right, I'll leave my sports stuff alone. We're running late on time here. All right, so tomorrow's schedule, the National Weather Service is keeping that isolated weather down to the south and southeast in the Gulf of America because of the energy they're anticipating coming up. It'll be into the overnight hours, but don't be surprised if that spins further inland, if it gets a little push with the energy to I'm talking about during the overnight hours, during the day hours today till sunlight, especially. But the overnight hours, don't be surprised if it made a sudden push and there couldn't be some severe tornadic activity pushed even further back to the north and west of that storm. And then once again, depending on how this forms and goes out over the Great Lakes up here, it could get a little energy and cause some problems for New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. So just keep your eyes on that. Be weather aware. Then when we get to Thursday, hopefully, we'll just have some rain showers, spotty, to deal with from Maine down to Texas. And most of the Midwest and West will remain dry, except for Colorado. It's going to snow there. I'm just going to say that every day. It's going to get to snow every day in Colorado because it won't matter if I'm right or wrong. 50% of the time, I got it. All right. So bye, Wendell. Come back when you can stay a bit. So, but there is your day 3 forecast. Let's look at some maps here real quick. I think I have some today. Oh, no, let's do this real quick. I'm sorry. Let's not forget our friends down under and look at the radar in Australia. Currently, there's just some spotty showers along pretty much all of the coastlines. Doesn't look to be anything serious. Let's see how much precipitation. There's really no call for precipitation inland. Maybe up around Darwin. That would be about it. Otherwise, it looks as though it's going to be kind of just a cloudy, windy day, but not too windy. Currently, the temperatures in Darwin, it's 81, 72 in... I got to zoom in every time because my glasses are so bad. Canberra, and if I'm pronouncing that wrong, please let me know, and I apologize in advance. Perth, 58, and then down in Hobart, 53. Sydney, you're looking at 65 right now. Brisbane, 58. Way back to the northeast there in Cairns, 73. And let's jump up to the U.S. and see what it feels like here. Let's see here. Currently, boom, Atlanta, 75. Knoxville, it says we're in the 60s. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think we're a little bit warmer than that. Okay. Let's see. Dallas, 63. New Orleans, 76. Tampa and Jacksonville, once again, you win for the hottest areas in the country today. Houston, 77. Washington, D.C., going to be a calm and cool 75. New York, 61. Boston, 56. Up in Burlington, it's around 60. And we hop over to the Midwest. Let's not forget Columbus because they're important. 57. Detroit, 61. Louisville, 66. Chicago, 68. Hopping into the Midwest. Sioux Falls, 79. Omaha, 74. Kansas, let's go have some barbecue at 74 degrees. Over towards the west, Albuquerque, 51. Denver, a cool 42. Billings, Montana, 48. And over in Medford is currently 68. Yakima, 69. And Grants Pass Valley, it is also in the 60s from Eugene down. And if you look at Crescent City, 61, you hop down to Southern California, and it starts to warm up around San Francisco and San Jose. It's 72 degrees, and down in LA it's 64. So let's see what the current precipitation is, and we look and see that area in Texas and Louisiana, back up Shreveport in Oklahoma, is getting hammered. And we'll take a look at the satellite, and actually let's go to the next map because it shows it better. Well, actually, no, the next map is the graphs telling us what it's going to do. So for today, which is 5/6, they're saying that it's going to be heavy storms from the Gulf of Texas, pretty much central Texas over to Florida, as we talked about, inland as far as central Texas. Then it's going to continue with the wind being today also. It's going to be right around the Gulf of America, but that wind is going to pick up in the northeast. Don't get caught off guard, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont up there with some wind. And then for hail, slight chance up in the northeast, but Texas tonight, that could increase over as far as Mobile, Oklahoma, even the whole state. central to the Gulf state, to the Panhandle, back down to the coastline in the Gulf of America for Texas. So the tornadic outlook, they're saying it's relatively small, but those storms are looking kind of nasty in Texas. The spinoff tonight is what should worry the most people. And the wind tonight for most people will be pretty bad pretty much along all of the Gulf of America coastline. Up in New England, it's going to depend on the amount of energy that storm gets. The hail outlook, I've heard predictions 2 inches or more, pretty much from Pensacola down to the end of the Texas Gulf Coast line and as far inland as Oklahoma and the Panhandle of Texas. So be careful, be weather aware, especially tonight when it gets its second wind. It's funny to talk about a storm getting a second wind, but that's exactly what it's going to do tonight. All right, so let's look at the current warnings. All right, so what do we always look out for first? A test message, and there we go. We have the test message from Andy at 14:15. Tornado warning for Texas. If you're on the ground, seek shelter. If you're outdoors, go indoors. If you're in a mobile home or vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter now. All right, so this is in Leon, Texas, is where the tornado warning is currently. If you are in Leon, Texas, seek shelter. Do not venture outdoors. There is a tornado on the ground. Louisiana, severe thunderstorm warning. Texas, you've got all kinds of warnings. So everything from tornado warnings. Here's another tornado warning in Robertson, Texas. If you're in Robertson, Texas, nope, they're saying it has been canceled and is no longer in effect. Robertson tornado warning has been canceled. One just popped up here. This one literally just popped up. This is in Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas. There is a tornado on the ground. Take cover now. Move to a basement or interior, lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid windows if you're outdoors, in a mobile home or a vehicle. Move towards the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. This is currently in Texas. This is an extreme warning for tornadic activity. There's a tornado in the ground in Houston. And this comes from the Houston weather forecast or weather national from the Houston National Weather Service branch. All right. So Henderson, we know the one in that one has been canceled. Leon is still active. Robertson, Texas has been canceled, but there's some severe storms in the area. Yeah, that's when we just looked at Robertson. So I should have pulled up some cams to see if there were any traffic cams where we could see if there was any activity. We could catch it. Not that I want to be one of those reporters. Firestone, Texas, tornado warning. It's got 20 minutes left. If you are in Freestone, Texas, seek shelter now. There's National Weather Service is saying there's a tornado on the ground if you're in Freestone, Texas. So we have lots of warnings. The tornado, that's the Robertson one, and winter storm warning in New Mexico, and winter weather advisory in Mexico. Tornado watch. Let's just say in Texas, you got every kind of watch. Flood, storm, special statement, and keep your eyes open. There are tornadoes on the ground. This one is also from Freestone and now Limestone, Texas. You still got about 20 minutes before they pull this one up. Take cover now, or if you are in Freestone or Limestone, Texas, move to an interior room or the lowest floor of the rooms of your building that you're in. Seek shelter, a sturdy building. Stay away from windows. Do not go outdoors in Freestone and Limestone, Texas. Seek shelter now. All right, so we see it's pretty popping. Let's go over to the map here and just pull this up and see where most of these storms are located. It's this line right here, and this line is coming out of basically San Antonio, stretching to the north, back to the south. I'm sorry, back to the west in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Dallas-Fort Worth is where most of the warnings are at the moment, that area. So if you're in those areas, seek shelter. There's some severe storms out there, and it's popping all the way up into Oklahoma And once again, that omega wedge, if you can just visualize it, it's right here pushing where there's nothing really across the center of the country. It's right there causing this storm on the southwest side and this storm on the northeast side to be two separate storms, but both getting energy from the Gulf of America. And this one later, when it's shunted off, will get some energy from the Atlantic and the Great Lakes. But we can look up here in, where is this? This is in Hamilton County. And you can see there's a pretty severe and significant storm there in Hamilton County. What state is this? This is New Hampshire. So, yeah, there's this pretty significant storm up there. We'll zoom out some. This is in New York, Oneida County. There's a pretty significant storm down in here to Delaware counties in Delaware, back over into Binghamton, and back down here further we get to the west of Scranton, Sullivan County, and Columbia County. This storm's pretty much going up the northeast, just to the south. To the west of the Route 1 corridor. So keep your eyes on that one in the northeast. All right, so that is our current radar as we have it right now. That front has really separated the country, and you can see it's actually pushed off the storms off the Atlantic coast. We're still trying to get energy, and it's pushing them off. It's causing a little dry spell here in the center of the South, but that's going to change up into the Ohio Valley. Tomorrow it'll be more dry, and then it's going to move to the northeast eventually. Let's look at the electrical activity, and it is off the charts right now. You can look at this at lightningmaps.org, lightningmaps.org, and you can see it is just off the chart there from San Antonio back up to Dallas, to basically almost southwest Arkansas. Get over there, center. And it is just off the chart. Just look at the electrical activity in those storms to the east in southern areas of Dallas, northeast of Austin, extending up into Arkansas. There's a lot of energy right there. That's an angry storm right there. And I would imagine somewhere right in here is where those tornadoes are. If you see, I mean, just look at the intensity of that one. That's in Tyler, Texas, right there. So, yeah, there is some energy. Look at the energy dissipation on these lightning strikes. Quite dramatic. So, all right, since we're talking about lightning, let's go over to our next map. And I'm going to refresh this. This is the wind map. I don't think it's going to be too up to date. Past few days, it's been a little bit behind. Yeah, it's been an hour behind. It'll give us a little bit of data, but we'll look at the other one for more data. And you can look and see how it's just pulling energy off the Gulf of America to the southwest and to the northeast. And then it's also pulling air straight up the Mississippi Valley into Canada. Mississippi River into the Rocky Mountains over to Canada. But yeah, that's that one. We'll look at a more up-to-date wind map here in a minute. Let's look at power outages. Let me refresh this because it appears to be down. California, 15,351. Texas, 14,941. And Pennsylvania, they're still recovering from that other storm, and they're now having the other storms come in. Potter and Clinton counties is where most of the power outages are in Texas. Florida, you just popped up on the map there. Texas, what is that? Robertson, Leon, Limestone, Freestone, that whole area where we just saw that electrical activity is pretty much without power. And let's look over in Florida, since you just popped on the map where you came from. I don't see, unless it's up here. No. Does it list? Let's see. Customers out in Florida Power and Light. Okay. And it looks like Miami-Dade. All right, so it's in the southwest section. Interesting, though. It's not showing up in, unless I'm blind, which is quite possible. Miami-Dade would be down here, 13,119. So it's down here Something's going on down there. I don't remember seeing any storms right there. Let's see here. I don't remember seeing any storms there. Is that the one? Yeah, I think that's the one. Nope, that's not the one. So one of these. Let's just go to National Weather Service radar. I don't remember seeing any storms down here in Miami that are significant. I mean, there's some, but I don't see any significant storms down there. I don't know why they're having a significant power outage in Miami. That's kind of unusual. So stop moving around. Good Lord. Keep pushing buttons. So yeah, I don't know why Miami-Dade is having a power outage at the moment. 13,119 people are without power in Miami-Dade. It's interesting. All right, so currently in the U.S., we have Texas with 35,040. Florida is now grown to the second highest with 14,201. California, 13,885. Pennsylvania, 10,979. And the Virgin Islands, they're experiencing power outages there, 6,543. We do not have data on Puerto Rico. That irritates me. We need to have data on Puerto Rico. So yes, there you go. There's the power outages. Let's look at the big, beautiful, perfect round globe. And we can see, if we look at the US here, how the energy, let's zoom in a bit, how the energy is just meeting right there over Texas it's coming in from the Gulf of America. It's being pulled across over from the Pacific. It's meeting and causing a little circular area. And if you look here, you can almost see the little area that's devoid of almost any wind from pretty much, I would say that's the southern Georgia, Florida line back to the east, maybe to almost the Ohio Valley. There's not a lot of wind, but there's some little lows up here off the lakes that are going to be getting some storm energy. And they're going to be pulling a little bit of energy off the Gulf of America later tonight. So keep an eye on that. Let's go down under. Oh, and by the way, I did not see National Weather Service saying there was anything in the Atlantic or the Pacific. Let's go down under and look at our friends down in Australia. If I can find them, there we go. And it looks to be a pretty wind-free day in Australia. Mostly the storms are pushing to the wind is pushing to the south and the west, which is what they were wanting for that algae bloom. I don't recall which section of the continent the algae bloom was on, but that is the winds they were hoping for. All right. We're going to cover this real quick because, well, I don't understand this either, and we'll see why. This comes to us from the Daily Mail. 50,000 people are at major stake and told to stay indoors. Florida's air is turning toxic with 50,000 residents warned to hunker down indoors as pollution levels soar. This is over in Yerg's Radio. Forecasts suggest air quality in Tampa is set to plunge into the orange zone, or a level where the federal guidance suggests sensitive groups like older adults, like Yerg's, should take precautions and go indoors. They warn it could cause coughing, breathing problems, exacerbate any heart or lung conditions in sensitive groups, while older adults like Yerg's should not risk it because their bodies are less able to compensate for the environmental hazards. More than 403,000 people reside in Tampa, of which 50,000 are age 65 and or older, and are urged to heed warning about the poor air quality. All right, so making things dangerous is a shift that won't be visible to residents, such as no smoke, no wildfire, nothing like that to warn. Instead, it's a chemical soup of ozone and particulates that infiltrate the lungs, weaken the immune systems, and chronic conditions. The EPI orange level is air quality index of 101 to 150, at which the public should go indoors, or at least those with sensitive illnesses are sensitive to allergies. So let's take a look at that real quick because it was pretty ugly before. Let's see what it is now. I'll refresh this. And it's not, it's showing a code yellow currently for Tampa, and it's only along the coastline, and it follows up into the Treasure Coast over to the Panhandle, almost to Pensacola, and it breaks again to Lafayette and comes back down through the Texas coastline with San Antonio. I find that kind of hard to believe in a code orange right now with the storms that are not far from you. Well, that storms maybe to the northwest of there. So yes, Florida, upstate Florida, Treasure Coast into the Panhandle is poor air quality days. Indiana, Chicago, over to Illinois, it's not good quality for you over there. And along the coast of California, the air quality there is pretty poor. Let's look at my favorite map that I don't believe daily. This is the tree pollen map, allergy map from the National Weather. I'm sorry, from the Weather Channel. They like to call themselves the National Weather Service. And they're saying that today, pretty much across the midsection of the country, anywhere above Texas or Tennessee, it's from orange to red. It doesn't return to green to get up into the northeast or back over to the west, slightly past above Montana. And that section of red and orange is Southwest Virginia, West Virginia, the tip of Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, back over towards you guys. Oh, actually, it extends over. And if you go down and look, it's at the Four Corners. And then again, in pretty much most of the West and Midwest is where it is code red or orange. I don't believe it for a minute. Not going outside. The weed pollen map is still showing nothing. The grass pollen, well, there we go. It's getting higher. And then let's look at this one. This is their breathing map. And no thanks. We see they do have Tampa isolated as orange there. The Gulf Coast, I'm sorry, the Georgia coast and the Carolina coast, at least the South Carolina coast, and back into lower North Carolina and the tip of southwestern Virginia as troublesome areas, and then up in the Midwest as well. There's troublesome areas. Let's look at the pain map and see where everybody's experiencing aches and pains. And if you're up in the Northeast, that's the highest section. It's code red. Let's see. And, well, Louisiana down there where all that electrical activity is, it's kind of a code orange pain day for you. Let's look at this map, which shows us our air quality. And it's as Chris would say, a big, beautiful map. It shows us what the current air quality is. And we see, as we always see, north of the equator is where the worst air quality is. We'll zoom in on the United States. And correct, from Tampa up, pretty much all the Gulf of America can experience some poor air conditions. Looks like it's coming from the front that's pulling the air out of Africa and across the Atlantic and up into the just the tip of South America over through the islands and back up into the Gulf of America coast. And believe it or not, it's pulling that all the way up to Winnipeg, if you can believe that. But it's really hammering Mexico City and Tampa, which is on the far east and western sides of the Gulf of America. So that's where your poor air quality is the worst today. And then you look up around Columbus. I think, is that Columbus? Yes. Nope, Cincinnati. Cincinnati back up to the Mitten in Michigan and over to St. Louis, Charleston, which is West Virginia, and back up and around to Columbus, and then, of course, Chicago. Those areas is poor air quality for today. We'll go down under and look at the air quality down there. And you guys look to be having pretty decent air quality. There's only a little bit of problem around Sydney, and it's not that bad. And then up in broom. Otherwise, your air quality looks pretty decent. So there you go. Whoop, wrong button. There you go. Let's look at the smoke and fire map. This comes to us from the USA Today. And we see that pretty much in the Gulf of America is where most of the smoke is setting. And that is also where a lot of the pollutions are, and extending over from the Gulf of America, crossing over Texas and up into the Outer Banks of the Carolinas. And we see there are multiple wildfires at this time. We'll take a better look here in a minute. I looked at some of these, and a lot of these littler ones, if you could call them littler, smaller ones are controlled burns. So there is that. All right, we'll pull up this map. It shows us where a lot of the fires are. And like this one down in Florida, it started months ago, but it's a prescribed burn. Look at this one. This is the Black Swamp, and it's 60% contained. And we'll go back over, and 90% B Rock and Table Rock, 88% in the Carolinas. What was that other one? It's hidden here. B Rock, Table Rock, and Big Ridge. Big Ridge is 88% contained. Over on the Outer Banks, we see the Black Swamp fire is 60% contained. We'll hop up the coastline there, and I don't see anything that tells me they finally got the New Jersey wildfires under control. Most of these on the west side of the Mississippi are controlled burns, even into California, up into the Rocky Mountains. A lot of these are controlled burns, are prescribed burns, as they call them. So the east right now is where most of the larger fires are. And we'll take a quick look at this. We'll use NASA's map, and we can zoom out and see the red dots are reported fires that nobody's got boots on the ground, or the satellite has detected that there could be a fire. The larger orange ones, of course, are fires currently. And then you see some even like in Curry Islands. I'm going to assume this here in Florida is probably a prescribed burn popping up. I didn't see that on the other map. Bee Island, I'm going to assume that is probably a controlled burn or prescribed burn. And then up here in the Juniper Swamp, and then we talked about these in the northeast sections of the Appalachia. And they're still showing the Jones Road fire on this map, but I'm pretty sure it has been brought under control and there is no more issues with the Jones Road fire. Let's look at the Space Weather Prediction Center, and they're not predicting anything significant. We look at the aurora effect for the next 24 hours, and we see that it doesn't appear to be anything outside the normal. It will not break down into the lower 48 to give us a view of the northern lights in the sky. Latest earthquakes. Let me refresh this. 3.1 in Virginia. Let's pull that up. That was in Richmond. 3.1 in Richmond, Virginia. Just happened, let's see, 1308. That just happened about 2 hours ago. All right. So 3.1 in Richmond, Virginia. And let's see the next one for the states. We would go down to, well, it's been a while, yesterday. So that's the most recent one, is in Richmond, Virginia. Look over here and see if there's any. Let's refresh this. And they're not even showing the one yet for Richmond on this map. Interesting. All right. We'll just hop off of that then. This looks at the volcano pictures. Wendell's usually interested in this. And we can see that most of the volcanoes we're watching, of course, are in Hawaii. And then we're concerned about these here in the islands of Alaska and up into the north near Anchorage. Otherwise, that's the only areas that we're concerned about volcanic activity at this time, according to the USGS. We look at our event list, and this brings us information from all sorts of catastrophic incidents to something as simple as we talked about earlier. In Florida, the man and his dog were killed by a black bear in Collier County yesterday. And then we jump down into the human epidemics, and there's nothing new. And the epidemic hazard, they're still getting concerned about the hepatitis outbreak in LA County and saying that they need to get ahead of this. I'm going to guess that that's probably coming from shared needle use in LA. We continue down to infectious hazards. Pakistan polio virus has been detected in sewage samples in 18 districts of Pakistan. And in Thailand, anthrax death toll stays at 1, but 98 others are still at risk. The critical infrastructure, there's nothing new. We know Haiti has had some poor infrastructure for a while. Portable water supply disruptions. We saw that Pakistan had some the other day, and it is worsening. Traffic disruptions. Spain, cable theft that caused a rail chaos was an act of sabotage. It was in Spain. Cable theft caused rail chaos was an act of sabotage. In the United Kingdom, a severe disruption to rail service between Cardiff and Newport after a fire. Go down to security conflicts, and I don't see, the only thing recent I see is the Houthi missiles at the airport in Israel. Public safety incidents in Laos, gunfire near the Laos-Thai border leaves 2 Laos soldiers dead, and bullets have struck a Thailand home. In the Russian Federation, 3 officers dead in an attack on police patrol in southern Russia. The Netherlands, a fatal shooting at a B&B belonging to Frontmen of Farmers protest group. United States, 3 were killed, 5 hurt in a shooting at a Glendale, Arizona restaurant. I believe that was yesterday. We covered that. And we talked about the incident in Tulsa. 13 kidnapped mine workers are found dead in Peru. In Kenya, several injured as the Shinbanan and Gormaya fans clash. I asked you about that yesterday, Chris. Let's see, UK, that's an old story. And let's go down here. We're not really going to discuss war because you can look at the Mideast and you can look at the Baltic region, the Russian area, figure it out for yourself. In the United States, a toxic algae bloom is taking a toll on Southern California's marine life. And we talked about mysterious explosions in Iran. And then talked about explosions in Russia in an apartment complex that have left 2 dead. Let's see. A fan favorite restaurant in Sandwich is a total loss after a massive fire in the United States. Where is Sandwich in the United States? Sorry, I'm going to pull this up because I'm curious. All right. Fierce flames and heavy smoke from Captain Scott's restaurant in Sandwich on Sunday morning took 40 firefighters from several departments on the Cape to battle the inferno. The restaurant is now in ruins. Longtime customers stopped by on Monday to pay tribute. It's worse than I thought. I actually saw it on the news, said one. So let's see. Where is that? Captain Scott Seafood up in Massachusetts. Apparently, it's a local establishment destroyed by fire. Hate to hear that. All right. In Belgium, passengers evacuated after an electrical fire in a metro tunnel in Belgium. It was overnight. Harnwell fire in UK. A man dies after a blaze breaks out in his home in West London. In New Zealand overnight. Fire at a McDonald's has been deemed suspicious. I think we mentioned that one yesterday. And let's see. Fire causes significant damage to tourist famine village in Codenonga in Ireland. And I think that's it for that one. Outdoor fires. We talk a lot about the outdoor fires, but we see that they're burning freely in Africa, in the Congo, in those areas. The earthquakes we talked about just a few minutes ago, landslides over in Nepal in Asia, and we're still monitoring Spur in the Sikkim volcanoes for activity, flash flooding. Of course, we need to be weather aware in our continent, and I don't see anything new here. Structural failure in Italy, Magalino. Doesn't say anybody was injured. And let's see, Pakistan, 6 minor girls died of suffocation in Pakistan. Dozens of cats found dead in over 60 homes. Let me restart that. Dozens of cats found dead, over 60 rescued from a home on Long Island. That's sad news. And let's see, traffic incidents, nothing new there for airplanes. And Indonesia, 12 killed, 5 injured in a bus crash. In a fiery crash in eastern Kansas, kills 8 people, including 3 from Oklahoma. I hadn't seen that story. And North Atlantic container ship adrift after engine explosion. That's in Bermuda, which is off of the Atlantic coast. Near, I guess the nearest city would probably be the Outer Banks. You see 3 dead, several missing after a suspected migrant boat capsized off San Diego. And 30 influencers rescued after a Lamborghini yacht sinks off of Miami Beach. I didn't check that story out, like I said yesterday. Let's see. Weather, we talked about. Extreme rainfall, hail, we've talked about. Heat wave, lightning, fog. Don't understand the fog. And let's see here. We know about the tornadic activity. This is just a colorful map of everything we've just talked about. You can find this at disasteralert.org if you want to check it out for yourself. And it shows you, and it does have the most recent update of the earthquake in Richmond. I wish it showed you more of a area that it covered. Let's see. New notifications is Shreveport, Louisiana, tornadic event in Shreveport, Louisiana currently. So that's new under new notifications. Let's jump over here and see if there's anything new. We're running out of time as usual. Right when I get to this map, we're running out of time. And I hate that because I need to move this map closer to the front so that we can cover crime in our country. Oh, let's see. That's the bear attack, I'm sure, down in Florida. Yeah, that's that. What is this? 73-year-old man was struck and killed by a car while crossing the Silver Star Road in Orlando. Yeah, we're running out of time, so I'm not going to have time to cover this as much as I would like to. Kind of scanning, looking for something. Gas main left unmarked, deadly Missouri house explosion. No, that's always bad. This is in Cleveland, a house fire in Sprague house fire in Barris has Sprague closed from Prospect. Oh, I guess it's the name of the street. And that's in Cleveland, it looks like, or southwest of Cleveland. We'll jump down here into Washington, D.C. Always kind of like to check and see if there's anything there new because there's lots of big, bold, beautiful things coming out. Trump on China, by not trading, we're losing nothing. So we're saving trillions of dollars. I don't know if you can make that argument or not, but there is certainly an argument to be made. But all right, so we'll skip ahead. New England FireNet, let's refresh this, see if there's anything new. Let's see, 1034, 947. No, nothing new from them. And, well, it's not going to be that big of a deal. It's just going to show us our satellites in low Earth. And Nothing we can't see. All right, let's end where we normally end on Bitfinder. We can see here that most of the attacks coming from Russia in Asia are in the form of cyber attacks are in red, infections are in orange, and spam is in white. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today and giving me time to tickle your ears. If you're listening on Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, Radio X, and Radio X Talk, I think it's Radio X Talk Live. Next up is David Beckmeyer. You can tune into his show. It's a great show. And I encourage everybody, in fact, I need you to come over and find me on YouTube. We're making a push to get monetized, and I need your support just by clicking a button that says subscribe. It would help if you hit the notification button too. That way you know whenever we go live. Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to have a great show with a special guest host, and we're going to be talking about sex. That's right, you heard me. The naughty three-lettered word, sex. We're going to be talking about sex in the paranormal. Want to find out what we're talking about? Well, come over to the Paranormal Guys and find us there. We do this show every day from 1 to 3 Eastern time. And then on Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time, we do the Paranormal Guys. It's also broadcast on Yerg's Radio, Right Talk Radio, Rainbow Radio at Radio X. You can find us there. Of course, then it is rolled over into the Bigfoot Radio Network and Pine Island FM, as well as WRFN in Nashville, Tennessee. So you can check us out. But this Wednesday night, 9 p.m., come over and subscribe because, well, we're going to have a sex therapist talking about the paranormal and ghosts. Can you have consensual sex with a ghost? Does a ghost ask permission? These are questions. We want everybody in the chat to, well, bring your popcorn. I'm sure it's going to light up pretty good. So for now, Sportcat, I am out of here. I hope everybody has a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, 1 o'clock. And thank you for allowing me to tickle your ears. And thank you for tuning in to me. I will see you soon. Till then, Sportcat is out. The boss jock is leaving the building.